few teams really do stand out here at PGC, though, that we've been watching and observing throughout the year as a whole. One in particular that does stand out has to be FaZe. A lot of people, a lot of pundits, Avenger, are marking this team as one of the big teams to maybe take it all.
The big favorites, I would say, overall, like, we have seen them perform so well consistently. They were down, they were off an era. They did not make it to PGI last year, but they made it back. They have won back-to-back-to-back. Uber has won back-to-back-to-back-to-back. It's insane. A lot of people are looking to see if this is going to be his 5th tournament victory in a row.
But for me, this is the place to prove it. They missed PGI. They got 4th in the qualifiers. They went to the FaceIt Global Summit. I don't think they performed as well as expected there. They were coming back from vacation. Sure, they did great at GLL, but that was a Western tournament. Now is your chance to prove to the world you are the FaZe that we've been touting for 2 years.
Especially in a short format like this, as I mentioned, everything could go down to the wire. Another team hailing from South Korea is, of course, T1 here, a very, very storied organization as a whole for us. I've been watching this team for nigh on 15 years. Not PUBG, of course, but other esports going on. But excited to see how they're going to do here.
Yeah, I mean, you have the great Fragment Cat. I think a lot of people are going to look into what he's going to be doing. At the same time, they also brought in Helen for this phase. And, I mean, he's going to be the IGL as well, or he's been the IGL, and he's been carrying the team up to this point.
And also, we have seen teams trying to either build their team for this specific championship or pick up the last change going into this last phase before qualifying for the PGC.
I mean, they've been building up. They've got a great coach in the form of C. Carter, who's been making this team better and better. But coming into Phase 3, they're a bottle rocket for me. They had a nice little pop, but they weren't spectacular. I think this is their chance to truly explode onto the world scene, to show that they can be Rocket Men, that they can take the game to the next level. But it's a big order for them, and I think it's going to be a challenge.
One of the oldest teams in South Korean history. Moving on to one of the newer teams when it comes to South Korea, it is Gen G. They've been around for a few years now, but one name really does stick out when it comes to Gen G as a whole, and of course, it's PNC's P.O. Mr. Avenger.
He was absolutely amazing at PNC, no doubt in that. I'm looking forward to see if he's going to be able to continue this. This is an insane lineup of teams. These 32 teams here are much harder than the kind of unfamiliar teams with PNC because they're not used to play together. Here, they've been playing for faces and faces back to back. They're used to playing together. Now you have to stand up and show again that you're one of the world's best players.
We shouldn't take too much away from the other members, though. Of course, they have been on the world stage before, Toffees.
I mean, they've got the experience, they've got the pedigree. The question is, can P.O.'s leadership sort of take them that last step that they need to re-show this time as FPP champions?
And of course, we have Tempo Storm. If any team had this as their wheelhouse for us, it would be Tempo Storm.
Yeah, I mean, they've been here, they won Phase 1, they won Phase 2, they won Phase 3, and now they're here and they want to win the group stage.
We've come to the Tempo Temple, right? This is where they worship, this is where they thrive. They have had lacks of success at the international level. However, they won at WSOE on North American soil. They did very well at the original Oakland Throwdown 2 years ago, I think 2nd place. This, if they ever had a reason and a place to win, this is it. On the other hand, that's stressful because there's no excuses left.
Also remember, Sharpshot was on the team subbing in when they won WSOE, and he's the new addition to this team right now.
And he's been phenomenal. In fact, during an interview, Sharky on the NPL season said, you know, I think Sharpshot's got a lot of growth ahead of him. And then he came out as top fragger and was destroying everyone, and we saw him evolve during that season. I hope that trajectory continues as we go into the playoffs here.
Avenger?
What I talked about as well is you've been building teams now that they made this last phase, not to say take anything away from Dre, but I feel like this is a stronger roster. This is the last change, the last chance going to phase 3, win it again with a new member. I'm extremely excited to see these guys play here on their home turf.
And I think take nothing away from Dre. I love Dre. We miss you, Dre. But the reality is Dre was one of the best natural talents, I think, in PUBG when it first came out. And as the field got better and better, they sort of caught up to Dre. And he became, I would say, still great, but with everyone else. He decided to retire. They found an amazing fragger with a huge upside who has been nothing but growing. This is a big deal for them.
Definitely so. There's a lot of other teams here in our Group 1. Is there any other teams as wild cards that stick out for you before we actually get into Group 1, etc.?
I would say Gex, actually.
Gex?
A lot of people are looking down on them, but at the same time, I see them as sort of like dark horse for this group. They can really pop off. I mean, players like Leo and Chairway and Sophia, if they work together really, really good, this is it. They can really make a good impact on everybody here.
Well, they're even more an interesting team for me because they almost didn't make it here. Zadak actually had to forfeit their position to go here. So for them, coming third in their region overall to get here is an interesting motion at all.
I mean, in a lot of ways, the same as we're going to see Rumblers tomorrow. They're sort of a team playing with house money, right? They weren't going to be here. They got the call. They have the opportunity. And so that means they don't have as much to lose maybe as some as the others do because no one's expecting anything, and that could open doors.
All right, gentlemen. Well, we're going to be moving on now as we break down everything that is PGC, just in case you don't know how it works. Don't worry, because we've got you covered.
So PGC is obviously the global championship. It's end of the year, all 9 regions, 32 different teams. For us, it's the biggest event we've ever been to, and I think it's the biggest event that PUBG's ever had.
We are going to see the best of the best players, the best teams in the world, all playing a very interesting and very difficult system that they're going to have to work their way through to prove who is the best player and the best team in the entirety of the world.
そして確実にキルを入れていくまだキルは足りないか5キルランペ What was that?
So my take on PGC is obviously it's like the biggest event in the world so far for PUBG. No matter how long PUBG's been going, it's like the pinnacle.
And really, when you get to something like PGC, that's when it's time for your superstars to really arise.
There's a reason why he's one of the best in the world, and these clutch moments and situations are exactly why. He's been sat here biding his time the entirety. Finally, Rustam, the backup plan. He hits the world. He's got the shot that's needed. Uber needs to confirm this. He does. We're into a 1 versus 1. He could clutch it single-handedly.
I've got a big thing with superstars. There's a bunch of them in Korea. There's a bunch of them in Europe. We know that there's some in North America and Oceania. Now it's time to start seeing, China, who, a lot of international teams haven't really seen too much since last year.
I think some regions are incredibly strong. EU and Korea especially are probably the 2 strongest regions. On top of that, there's been some really good Chinese teams.
嘎德威也放到一个，东西拿出来开始抢分，这个雷有了，漂亮啊！
Updating of the scoring system, it's pretty much the meta is pretty clear. People play for kills. I think Korea was way ahead of their time last year. They were playing for kills much more than other teams and taking really big fights. But I think it's all evened out, and I think everyone's playing on the same type of mentality now, which is try and get the best position you can, but if you can't, you got to take fights.
We'll start off with Justice though.
Oh my God, what was that?
The main teams I'm looking forward to playing against are probably the Chinese and Korean teams. I love killing them and hearing their fans in the audience just go silent or start booing. That's like one of the best feelings.
I think that Atletico is going to be really interesting to keep an eye on. The way that they rotate through, I would say that Australia has shown that they are forced to be reckoned with. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Armory Gaming. Armory Gaming and Duckman is probably one of my favorite players to watch.
ดักแมนเอาจัดเกมนี้จัดคิวของ Armory Gaming โดดลงมา FPX ทำเป็นดักแมน
Uba and Uba. I think Uba's the best player in the world right now from FaZe. I think they are currently the best team in the world. I think they're the team to beat when it comes to PGC. On top of that, I think a lot of the Korean teams are going to perform very well. Gen.G, I think it's going to be nuts. They always are when it comes to international competition. I'm interested in Vendetta. They perform very, very well, even outplaying Atletico in their finals to get their spot at PGC. So I think that'll be an interesting team to look at. And I think Atletico is another one, coming from OCE and seeing if they can repeat their performance from Sweden.
So as far as favorites go, you'd have to be living under the rock for the past year to not say FaZe, Liquid, Navi. I mean, these 3 are huge favorites coming into this tournament. CJ Entus Force, Afrika Freaks Ares, all these guys, big favorites to win this tournament. I would say, anywhere from 2 to 1 to 5 to 1 if you're making odds.
Every single team that's here wants to make a statement. It's not about being the best country. It's not about being the best region. It's the pinnacle. Who is the best team in the world, and can they prove it?
A lot to be looking forward to here for PGC, of course, as we focus down on a few of our players to get things going at the beginning of things. Uber, of course, you guys previously mentioned him to get things started here at the beginning, at the top of the show here for us, but he's definitely a name to be looking out for.
Definitely. I mean, probably one of the best players in PUBG at the current state. And he just currently lifted 4 trophies back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
He's looking to lift a 5th one. And he said this the other day. The other 4 trophies, they don't matter. This is the only one he wants to lift. The other 4, he can concede them if he needed to.
I mean, I would call it, like, you know, pound for pound, the best player, and not only in EU, but I could say probably in the world. Yeah,
I like that.
It's this idea that this guy just brings so much to the team. He was that right fit. FaZe has been trying to find sort of exactly what the puzzle pieces are. Uba coming aboard, I think, was just that caused everything to click, and their play has been unstoppable since.
Absolutely agree. And I also think that's why Jabroni said Uba. Uba.
Yeah.
4 times.
4 times. 4 trophies.
That's what he wants to do. He just wants to make a team out of 4 Ubers and then just push that on to victory. There you go.
I don't want to play in a world where there's a team with 4 Ubas on it. That just is unfair.
That's too much aggression.
Too much
Uba. So again, like when we look at overall Group 1 here, how are we feeling? We already mentioned a few of our maybe wildcard teams. Froz, you already mentioned Gex. Armory Gaming, I think, is almost a guilty pleasure of a lot of us commentators, pundits, when we look at their performances on international lands. What do you think, Avenger?
A lot of clutch situations coming out of these guys, and that's what I'm excited to see if they're going to be able to continue that. But also to be able to keep it together, players as a team of 4.
Sure.
We see a lot of plays being made because there's one off in 400 or 500 meters away from the rest of the team, but still a play being made. But I like to see them stay together, make some big plays, make top 8 in this group.
I mean, the reality is new players, new problems. This team does have to deal with some of that stuff, right? They've had one of their players have to step down from military service. They've made the replacements. Yeah. But the team supports each other. Their leader says that Tanawat is the man that he would trust to go 1v4 against anybody here. So this team has got the confidence. Now can they execute on it?
All right, gentlemen. Well, it is now time here. PGC, the World Championship here for PUBG, is about to begin. Let's get to it here as we start things on off on Erangel, but it is day number 1 of PGC.
I'm a true champion.
Yeah, to Luke 12, obviously, like I made him as a player and he wouldn't be anywhere without me, so it's always nice.
I have a warning, especially for K-Mine. Hey K-Mine, watch your face. I can.
Everyone else is just bots.
We want to see 4AM in the final circle because they're really talented individuals.
Not in like specific rivals. We always had this like friendly banter thing with Liquid because we're like really good friends with them, and we're both really good teams, and we usually attend the same events kind of. So it's always fun like competing against them. Yeah.
Considering that TSM has our old coach, our damaged goods, so to speak, I wouldn't really consider us a bad league. They seem to be performing better now that they have NA talent on their team, because before they were pretty trash.
I think the easiest team that we're going to have in the groups at least is going to be Rumblers, because They just qualified last second. Well, they didn't even qualify. They got a replacement spot, and their team practically lost the IGL before the tournament. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Rumblers for sure.
We are the best team in the world.
I don't believe they would have said that. They're generally nice people. I feel like you guys just saying they said that. I know a lot of them. They're pretty cool guys.
이제 각 나라마다 제일 잘한다는 팀이 왔기 때문에 다 잘할 거라고 생각하고 있어서 그런 생각은 안 하고 있습니다.
I think I'm most excited to play against FaZe. They beat us at the last tournament.
そうですね、対戦してみたいチームは、ジェンジですね。理由としては、スクリームで対戦した時にすごく強かったので。
I think Genesis is stubborn, so we're gonna have to be fighting with them. I don't think there's other teams as stupid as them that will have to like fight. So.
The easiest team to farm would be Liquid.
And who do you want to see in the final circle?
Not Liquid.
Wait, that was actually good. You have to keep that.
我感觉这台队伍是废子。
포인트가 되고 싶지 않으면 도망가세요.
It's time. 1 year of competition has led to this stage. We are at the PUBG Global Championship, and we are just a few seconds away from getting everything started. My name is Matchroom, and I'm going to be joined by Sims for the first 2 games to get everything rolling.
We've been working towards this point for a whole year now. Blood, sweat, tears, and many bullets have been spent to get to this stage and to get to this point. We go through 2 groups. There is an elimination stage on Sunday, but for now, you have to get top 8. You have to initially get out the groups. Yes, what's touching on the desk, it is essentially a double elimination. You do get a second chance, but with only 6 games, you don't get a second chance when it comes to these individual maps one by one.
Well, we're at the Globe Championships. Nobody wants to be playing on Sunday. No, you want to secure your spot today or tomorrow, depending on which group that you're in. But there is so much strength in these lobbies, like the desk was talking about. It is going to be so difficult. And with only 6 rounds, it is just going to be tense all day today.
It's kind of scary when you put these whole groups side by side and you think, oh, well, that's a strong group. Oh, that's the group of it. No, they are both so evenly matched. But you wouldn't have this any other way. Let's be real now. We're at the Global Championship. This is the pinnacle of PUBG sports. The groups are going to be extremely hard to get through. And again, because we have so many play dates moving through this, I mean, what, there's 8 in total? At the end of it, we really truly will find the best team and maybe even the best player in the world.
I'm hoping we get a couple of surprises. It feels like every time we move to one of these international events, there's some new player that just manages to rise to the top and excel. But here we go, guys. You can see the countdown is kicking off. Plane is up and in the air. So here we go. The first game of PGC is getting underway.
32 teams, 9 regions, 8 days, $2 million. And the chance to be crowned a global championship team. This is it. We are beginning. And of course, we get all the excitement, Matchroom. This is where we see initially if we're going to get any contested spots. Will people be greedy? Will people be ignorant? Will people want to fight and try and farm early game? Well, it's time to find out.
Well, there is a good chance of it. There are a lot of very strong locations on this map, and a lot of these teams have carved out their home over a year in their independent leagues, and they want to make statements about where they want to play at from here. You can see the drops are coming in over towards the middle of the map. There's going to be a lot of people coming through with this plane path. Everybody's going to be playing up to the north. We don't see a lot of teams tend to drop towards military base, so Farm, Pachinki, Milta, this area is going to be very contested.
We'll see Milta. FaZe just hovering around. T1 will be kind of lingering in the backyard. They'll be same for Na'Vi as well. Infantry just below them in Ferry Pier. Na'Vi have been contested before. Not necessarily contested, but they've had teams close by them. When I think back to the GLL Grand Slams, there was a team that was lingering not too far, caused them problems. Infantry did cause them problems, as we saw. Well, we actually saw it in some of the scrims. There was early scuffles, early battles. I'm looking more towards that central area of the map, School, Roshawk area. I'm seeing 3, 4 teams. And the circle, as I mentioned that, it does actually go their way. So, over towards the east, not much water in play, plenty of land.
but a hell of a lot of teams that are going to have to do some work to get across there, because the bigger picture of this is that you don't necessarily know the rotational paths. Previous teams you played in these leagues, you know exactly where they're going to be going, what they like to do, tendencies. You know all the tendencies. When you come to this, it's not about who plays aggressive. It's not about who plays passive. It's about who plays adaptive. You've got to play on your feet.
And here we go. You can see that the Tobii eye tracker is up and in effect, so you can see how the players are looking and how they traverse this map, what they're trying to get their eyes on, what they feel is a dangerous point. I love that we're going to get a little bit more insight on how these players play.
T1, Lipovka, Vendetta, and Milta. Fizz, usual place, Milta power. Strong areas over on the eastern side of the map. Further afield, Mansion will be taken by T1, just extending their arms reach inside of the map. That gives them a good amount of territory should they want to try and take a power position after this circle does update. Still got a few people in the air, and that's just because they're again, just moving away from other teams where they initially saw them down and said, you know what, it's a bit crowded on here, so we'll kind of move on. Envy do have an extremely large split. They're the furthest from the circle, if you would call it. You got 2 over on the west coast in the central, and 2 down in Primorsk. Infantry. This could be an interesting one. Which team do they stab in the back? Because that western side of the circle match, sure, a lot of teams want to kind of set up shop and maybe not go too deep. If they were playing passive is not the right terminology, but you don't just want to go bumbling into the circle. You don't know necessarily where everyone's going to be. If you do play back and you do hang back, Infantry could pull up unexpectedly.
And that's the way they like to play. They like to scrap a little bit earlier. A lot of these teams are still in the information gathering stage, so a little bit slower off the start. Everybody wants to know how these rotations are going to come into play. We had, I wouldn't say an evil plane path, but it wasn't a good plane path for a lot of these teams. So the north is pretty wide open, especially in this circle, since it did shift back down towards the south coming in. So a lot of these teams are still trying to go, okay, how are people going to adapt off of this plane path into this rotation? And a lot of the teams have already kind of carved out a little bit of a niche inside of this circle. As you can see, that's going to be Ghost that's over here in Yasnaya.
You touched on it. It wasn't an Evo playing path, but it's more about the time that you've got to loot. You won't be taking these fights early game. Thankfully, the circle is kinder to the people that did get there later, so there is more time to gear up. The only problem is you'll be gearing up. There may be teams that have already got their gear further afield, and they're getting ahead of the game. Tempo Storm, usual place for them. The Gakka split, just lingering and kicking.
A couple of shots coming back over towards Rascal Jester, but nothing too crazy. It's just rotation shots. Seeing if maybe they can get that lucky headshot or 2, tap somebody out of a vehicle and get that early point. One thing I did want to note, we've kind of gotten used to seeing the banana suits in every single game.
Yes.
That's not going to be happening at PGC. In order to kind of equalize the playing field, everybody is going to be wearing the PGC skins, so there's no recognizing how somebody is normally dressed or any of that. Everybody looks the exact same, and I think that adds extra, a little bit of depth to how people are going to have to play.
And the better thing is you guys can get these at home as well. You just got to go and grab them, download them, buy them, whatever. A percentage of the proportions of the sales do go towards this prize pool. I'll tell you what, that Dacia skin looks absolutely fantastic. The skins as a whole, the gun skins, the body armor, the whole thing, the whole package is fantastic. You can pick the entire, you can either buy them separately or bag the whole thing. And if you do so, you also get the pick'em ticket.
Pick'em tickets are going to be where it's at for me. I mean, that's where all of our bragging rights right now.
Don't be waiting all the way into the finals.
Wait till the final. Better chances to get skins.
No, get it. Get in now. If you trust your pick, you've got to go for it.
I do trust my picks, but I'm just saying some of these guys, they might just wait a little while. Make sure you get those skins are really awesome.
Are you picking a North American team?
I am picking one because I'm buying everything independently so that way I can get the most amount. I'm going to get 7 tickets, for instance. I want to support these guys. I want to add into the prize pool, so I'm not buying the bundle pack. I'm buying everything individually.
Centralizing now. Teams on a wander in. G2 finding Vendetta in the distance. You'll also note some of the UI changes. You can now see the armor that people are wearing, the helmets and the chest. Level 1 there on Brexcop. Not the best of gear to be going. Generally with Circle 2, you want to be 2'd up minimum, both helmet and chest. Especially with the helmet, but it kind of looks okay. So if you do see people with big red heads, so to speak, you do know they are at least wearing level 2 gear.
Rotation still coming in for a lot of these teams. Very centralized, no surprise there. It gives them a better chance of Circle RNG going in their favor, so that way they don't have to make another rotation. So a lot of people playing just to the west of that Lumberyard Hill, which has got a lot of dips and different interesting places that you can play off of. Almost everybody is still just trying to play in this location. There's still quite a bit of water inside of this circle, but we know in a couple of circles it's going to shift away from that. So everybody's making that expectation more towards the west.
Slower teams yet to make a real move. Gen.G heading up towards the north. It's a clever idea because it should be quiet in theory, unless you've got a team that's playing weird and wonderful around the Yasnaya skirts. Infantry, I spoke about them maybe creeping on the edge. They are just on the edge below Pachinki down south. Navi have taken the Potato Hill just to the right-hand side of that. They're all 4 players in vehicles on top of that thing. Just scouting on ahead, seeing who's what. Still furthest away, Navi, excuse me, Envy. The boys in blue, they'll be the last to arrive to this circle. It could pay them dividends. It could be favorable that no one's going to be on their path.
Luke is in a little bit of trouble. Tempo Storm's taking a couple of shots in their direction. That's going to be OG and Intis Ace. Joy taking a couple of shots back over towards Luke, and he almost went down on that. None of these players want to be the first blood of this event, so that's why I think you're seeing a little bit more caution coming into play, but he just narrowly made it around that corner.
Is DMG chasing that vehicle? I think that vehicle's just going full YOLO on him. He's lost it.
Well, this is what we know Duckman's to do. You can see he's a little bit separated away from these teams. He almost likes to gather information, take a couple of these pot shots, put himself in a risky position because he always feels he can get the 1v1. Hopping in the motorcycle, going for a little bit of aggressive push off to the side, but it's going to be Duckman's that goes down first. Nice shots coming out from T1's Helen, and that's going to be an easy flush.
That'll be a warning for him going forward that you won't be able to just go YOLOing and doing whatever the hell you want. T1 pick up the first point of this entire event. The rest of Armory Gaming, they will fall back and say, you know what, let's consolidate ourselves and just wait for now. And you know what, you could get some of those scenarios where you've been farming and just smurfing in your entire league, and then you come to what is essentially the big boy stage now. You will get punished doing weird and wonderful things like that, or just trying to go up and pull up and pull a 1 versus 4. No, it shouldn't be happening. If it is, then okay, maybe some weaker regions will fall to individual pro players that have been playing this at a hell of a long time, but you've got to play so disciplined. Weird and wonderful stuff might work now and again if you catch someone off guard because they're playing passive and scared at this level of event because there's so much money on the line and so much pride. But generally speaking, you will be punished.
And that's kind of how we see happen with Armory Gaming. It's very live by the Duckmans, die by the Duckmans. Whenever he moves out into these different positions, he can sometimes get just these beautiful sprays, get a free kill here or there. But then whenever it doesn't work, it has him go down. And you can see how they instantly moved into a building, going ahead and playing in a more defensive strategy now that they've lost Duckman and that weird positioning that he likes to play from.
Given the fact there is water down south and over on the eastern coastal roads, more teams will be favoring the middle towards the northwest side. Again, the circle will be shifting over there.
All right, as a friendly circle, it is going to be a pretty friendly circle. It's just the teams up towards the north. Gen G going to have a little bit of trouble. It's going to be also Rascal Jaster going to have to do a little bit of movement, but almost everybody else already inside of the circle. Envy's got a little ways to go and has to be careful because it's infantry just on the outside of it.
Not too bad at all, that. Tiny bit of water in, so you know it'll be going more towards the north later down the line. Gen G have got a fair amount of work, to be fair, for everyone between the north and the east side of things. I'll have a difficult run, mainly because of where FaZe has been posting up outside of Mill to Power. They will control from, I suppose it depends where they want to stay, but they could go from prison all the way down to the top of the farm side if they really wanted to, excuse me, back of Milta, which could cause them problems. Armory Gaming is in there, but remember now they've already lost a man, and they could be exposed in the fact that they only have a vehicle. I'm just trying to give you a picture here of how things are going down.
I don't know if I like this coming out from Ace right now. They're putting themselves in a pretty dangerous situation. Whenever you move over into shelter, sure, you get control of it for now and you have a little bit of safety, but moving out of that location in-game with the hills all around it and how good these players are that are going to be taking up those hilltop positions, that's going to be very dangerous. Oh, Pio is already dead. That is huge. That's a late rotation coming in from Gen G.
Leo on to Pio, 1 point, go the way of Gex. That's rather unfortunate. That was the scout. Head off, find a location, and a bit of a route in. Gen G do have a tendency to do this, where we've seen before they will go on a 4-man full split. That is a split and a half that I'm seeing. It isn't without response, though. Leo does go down off the back of picking up a kill. GG. Ghost Gaming say thank you very much. We'll know where you're shooting from, because I just heard them shots in the distance, and Vegas will finish him off.
He's trying to line up that last little tap, but it's not going to connect. So a couple of deaths coming out. We're still at 61 right now. Rotation woes are kind of dropping one here or there. One thing to note is everybody still continues to move just west of Prison, Lumberyard, into the farm area along Potato Mountain, just kind of outside of school back down towards the south of that. So that means these hills are going to be very, very strong. A lot of these teams are going to be playing off of position, but look at this. Armory is already in full defensive 1-1 split, kind of playing off of this. Well, a 1-2 split, I believe. Actually, no, it is a 1-1-1 split, aren't they? Where are they separated out at right now? No, okay, they're both back down there.
1,
Sorry.
2, 2. It must
The
just
map
be
was separate
below
there.
him. You just see a little arrow going back and forth. But you kind of saw where Gus Gaming was. We call that the liquid compound now and again just because so many times you'll see them kicking it around there. If the circle does pull towards the north, it'll be a great position for them, mainly because they can keep teams at bay through the fields. There's no real protection for anybody down that way. Shrims are beyond the hillside. They can keep that one clear and just watch teams in front of them. A doozy gets an answer back. Pack Caps at least puts him down for now. The warning shots are there. And you again, from patch number 30, we did have the ledge grabbing coming in. So CP, look for players that are going to be traversing and getting any kind of line of sight, going on top of the houses, going on the roofs, getting new angles. It was there throughout the leagues. Yes, we are in a different patch. We are on 5.1. But this was definitely one of the big game changers of this year.
That was a big play coming out. Envy really needed that extra little bit of space. They already had one down, so somebody was in the process of reviving, so it was two looking back that direction. Hitting those shots, Taro playing up on top of that building buys a little bit more space and time to gather themselves again. But it looks like they're deciding that maybe it might be a little bit risky playing in this position. Already sending Moody off, maybe to scout back down a little bit further south. Do have Tempo Storm making their way pretty centralized on this, scouting out a little bit more around them. You can see where everybody's playing at. Goes back down towards the south, so Milta looks like it's going to be the playground for this game. Got a couple of different positions. You can see FaZe didn't have to make too crazy of a rotation up, just coming up around Lumberyard. Tempo Storm's gonna have a little bit more stress coming back towards him, and Gen G's looking back towards T1. Shots coming out from Maluk trying to connect onto it, and that is going to be a nice down and a kill follow through, but a lot of pressure coming out from outside of this, trying to circle around, make sure that they get that 1 point, and then retreat away from it.
Which is good. He actually went off the back of the bags. There were no initial knock there, so to clean him up does at least confirm the point. You could see why Summer was on the rotate. They wanted to get aggressive here. This will be quite a lot of a bloodbath going forward on the rotation, mainly because there's still water down south. Do not forget that. When we go to the next circle, it will move away from there.
This is big.
Down south is going to be very, very dangerous. We have to look at what's going on now, though. We've lost one. Miluk, Sharp Shot, Zampa. They're all falling. Tempo Storm. What's going on? All the boys are getting battered from multiple angles. Tempo Storm's out. 16
down.
Matchroom, it's like we've seen this before at international events. What's happening with Tempo?
It's just every single time they come out, they have always get contended with somebody else with this. Their play style is always very much about trying to take down people, capitalize off of mistakes others make, but in this, it feels like everybody's just coming after them. Loki is in some trouble. T1 is completely surrounding his position. He's just looking back at this doorway. We've all been in this position before. You know the stress coming through. You have to be so cautious of grenades coming through these windows. But a little bit of support is coming out in the distance for him. Shots now coming up as Adder looks like he's trying to make his way up the stairwell. Loki jumps out the window, trying to go around the outside of it, but no. Jeff Locke is just going to take him down.
At least get the audible cue straight out. The smash window gives away the position, but it was a good play at least to trying to get away from the grenade that was in there. He did avoid that. Out of the frying pan straight into the fire. Akkad. The man that we're wanting to see do some wonderful stuff during this event. He's a name that everyone's been talking about leading up to this competition. He really showed himself during the PKL, and honestly, yes, it's all sometimes about PO, but certainly Akkad is a name that we're going to be keeping an eye on throughout this entire competition should they make it out of groups.
This is Brave coming out from Timid. He decides to take the shots back up there. He's the last man up, trying to get at least 1 point before they go down. Taking those shots off to the side of it. VC's looking back on the other angle for this. Just going to go ahead and polish off Helen. Now you can see Tim in a lot of trouble. Shots coming up from so many different directions. Looks like he's got teams all around him. Manages to get another one down, going for another flush. Can he get more points out of this? And no, it's going to be taken down right there.
Another big name, Gen G gone, 15 position for them. I just really want to quickly roll it back because we've got VC on screen right now. Initially, they lost a player. You saw Tempo, they said, okay, well, ones go down, we'll clean it up. That's a free point for us. How aggressive did VC get that? They said, you know what? You knock one of us, we're just pulling up. It was so committed.
They have 6 kills at this stage. It's paying off big for them. Even if they go out very early and they don't get the placement points, they've already got enough kills to give themselves a comfortable point inside of this very first game. That's the different styles and strategies that come in. Some people play for placement, play a little bit more cautiously. Other people just want every kill point they can get early.
I honestly think it's Tempo just didn't expect it. VC says, you know what? Okay, well, that's fine. We'll just happily get stuck in. G2 made a bit of a play earlier on, maybe 2 circles ago, to get to this position, and it comes into effect of that water. The small amount of water down south forces the circle up north. You can't read exactly where it's going to be, but you knew it was somewhere at least above the bottom side of Milta. Gives them a very good foothold in the hillside. The other strong boys that are up here, we have Vendetta, we have Armory Gaming, we have FaZe Clan completely locking out the lumber mill. the problem in all of this for other teams that want to run by these teams, they might say, okay, well, we'll go and scout this. There's the team there will continue forward. You have Entus. They're inside the center of the map. Should you run away from one of those teams and go central towards the woods, Entus might catch you.
You can see Envy taking a couple shots back over towards infantry. Neither one in the circle yet. Need to make their way a little bit further north. FaZe still holding control over that eastern part of the circle, looking back down towards Vegas, who's making that reposition for Ghost Gaming. Prepping out the grenade, so that's going to be a Hail Mary grenade, say the least. Doubt it's going to connect, but he is looking off the side of that. Did spot out the other two rotating off to the side. FaZe has a lot of control. This is kind of their backyard. This is where they always drop. They know this territory so well.
It scares me that he's throwing a grenade at one player, and the Toby eye tracking's actually seeing him track the other player. Like, doing two things at once is, to be honest, the reason why he's a bit of a freak and he's doing so well. Grenades are ringing from the backside, so the Red Canids need to be extremely careful. That's a 3-for-1 asking to happen. They're all bunched up. If a doozy goes over the hill here, Matchroom, this could be dangerous. Pestilot's only found one.
He's trying to creep up on the side of this. If he can get the angle and surprise them, he could just destroy them. Grenade's going to come down, take down the vehicle. You can see Psycho's already down, and he's looking off one direction. Rusty Zero's back behind it, but Raspu up at the top of that, trying to collect as much information he can. Does see a doozy, does get the down onto a doozy, so that gives a little bit more space for them to play with. Now Na'Vi has to figure out what are they going to do next.
Keep an eye on that kill feed. I'm seeing Ghost Gaming making an advancement onto FaZe Clan. There are multiple engagements going on across this map. Raspu dead. Pestilot goes back onto Psycho. Wesker's been found. Envious all the way down south. 3 teams in Milta. FaZe Clan now coming under fire. Fuzzface goes down. Initial opener from Vegas.
Ghost has managed to creep back off of this. With the grenades coming down, you can see FaZe is trying to do a little bit of a retreat, trying to figure out where everybody's coming through with this. Ghost is coming in very aggressive, trying to find any angle they can. So it's one member from FaZe down, and still aggression coming out from Ghost. This is forcing FaZe out of that comfortable position that they had, and they have to be very cautious. They have to make sure that they're containing all this information. Looking off in the distance, you can see it's going to be Jeff Lockett going down, so T1 is eliminated.
Really, really good kill from McCoy. Outside, just towards the blue, that was somebody who was basically poking Ghost Gaming and being a nuisance. To clean him up, now clears the backside and they can advance forward. And the reason they need to do that is because they've still, regardless of taking one player away, all you've done to FaZe Clan now is make them stronger, make them more angry. You've taken away Fuzzface. They'll want to get revenge on this. The problem is they are playing uphill. Ghost, in my opinion, have the lesser position here against FaZe, but FaZe are a man down.
With the terrain, you can see that hill where a lot of this is going on right now. Off in the distance, you can see FaZe and Ghost and how they're trying to play this. Gexophia looking back over towards this direction. Next circle's getting ready to pop. Depending on how it goes, we could see a lot of bloodbaths right on the edge of this circle. Milta's just going to have a smidgen of buildings in it, so that's going to make it very interesting to see how Envy has to push their way forward. A lot of these guys on the edge, a little bit punished, but Ghost's push a second ago pays off big for them because they are in this new safe zone.
Shrimsy's gone for a really good reposition here. Gone a bit further down south, which not only covers the backside for Ghost Gaming to stop people from south making advancement, but it also gives Ghost a bit of an emergency evacuation procedure should FaZe want to make a push on them. I don't think they will because they can take control of the compounds that they have up there. It's a stronger position when you look to how very little really compounds there are to play with. I'm seeing Gex, they're making a full rotation all the way on the north side of the circle. Na'Vi yet to get involved in this one. Infantry, they've been quiet, they've been back building. G2, and same goes for Entus. They just basically huddled down and says, you know what, we'll stay here for now.
Has the angle on one, gets the spray down. Vehicle explosion gonna go off. So now 2 pushing back over towards VC. VC has been violent in this game already. 7 kills they're sitting on, prepping the next grenade. That's another down and flush coming through with this. So that's another team eliminated as we drop down to 11, and good lord, VC is on fire right now.
They're just farming. And the problem is for Vendetta, they're split. 2 are looking towards Army Gaming inside of the circle, 2 are looking towards VC. They could get split here and stabbed in the back. They have to be careful. VC need to time this one right. They'll be listening for the audible cues of the vehicles moving, maybe even the gunshots. When the gunshots kick off, it's time for them to engage. G2, further afield down south, they're holding infantry back. Infantry have to cross the road. And the vision that G2 will be provided, because they're inside the compound, which does have that level 2 area of the garage, they can watch for the oncome of infantry and Na'Vi. That's the only real place for them to go. It's to belt across and maybe take the compound. If they can get a knock onto G2, maybe they just go for it.
So you can see that Armor Gaming did regroup. They were running a little bit of a split a second ago. Vendetta's making the push off the side of it, but they're pushing up that hill that has the dip. It's so blind on this, so that's why they were trying to throw the grenades over first. Get a little bit more information, but You can see Armory Gaming not too afraid as the fight is still happening right on the edge of Milta. Tero's taking a couple of shots back over towards Wesker. You can see one of the members is already down for Rascal Jaster. So with this, now a little bit of repositions coming in. Envy's got to carve out a little bit more position, and Rascal Jester has to defend it. There are so many fights happening as everybody's slowly being pushed together.
Pokemon cannot do nothing. I think he just holds this one down and prays for mercy. Play for placement because, yes, those Harry Potter towers. Oh, from nowhere.
They just step up, take a couple of shots right in the back of Envy. Infantry is coming in with a lot of fire and gusto. They want this position as well. Now you can see everybody from Envy finding themselves pincer between two teams as they made this push.
Cap's could be good here. If he gets that in the right corner, he could get 1, 2, 3! I saw him cooking it. He saw the angle because of the ditch that were on the side. It comes down to them. They're gone. They're dead.
Infantry tried to go for the push, but the blue and the damage coming out being a big factor inside of that. Vendetta still trying to make their push back over towards Armory Gaming. Knows exactly where he's at, but this is such a difficult push to make up this hillside. Smoke's starting to come out now. Skeet's trying to play this very cautiously. Steps back out. Shots come out from Icon, and that was a beautiful drop.
Skeet down, almost dead. Icon says thank you very much. Vendetta still creeping and peeping.
Grenades coming out on the other side now. Going to connect over with the tree, not going to get any damage off. DMG as well as Tanawat trying to get a little bit more information. Keep in mind, VC's Tide still on the outside of this. FaZe also slowly being pushed this direction as well. So a lot of different third parties that could become a big factor inside of this fight, and that's why everybody's playing it a little bit more safe.
Vendetta was very clever in the fact that they've stayed outside of the white just to protect themselves for any backstab from VC. VC lost another player, so I think it literally comes down to Tide now on his own. I mean, they've done pretty well. They've got enough kills and points in the bags already. They're into the top 10. We'll see a few more points picking up rather shortly as they do advance forward. Interrogate, bad caps. Oh, Envy. They're getting cut to pieces here as they try and make their way out of Milton. I suppose it is a bit of a death trap, bro. Yep, instantly eliminated. What can you really do when the circle's like that? You've got no vehicles. Yeah. It's open terrain. It's shooting season for all the teams uphill.
We've all had to make that cross before. It is just terrifying. Shinobi holding that angle right there for Rascal Jester. Ghost up along the hillside as well as FaZe, but that's going to make it to where really G2 is going to have to make an approach and a little bit safer of an angle, but they seem to be the last team to kind of make their way inside the safe zone.
I need to very shortly checking with the Vendetta battle. Armory Gaming are getting surrounded. I don't think they realize just how much. Vendetta have gone for a 2-2 split. North and south, either side of it. The collapse could come at any time. I'm also seeing Tide turning away from FaZe Clan and maybe, just maybe getting involved in that one to pick himself another point or two up.
G2's making the push right over towards Ace. A couple of shots are coming through. Gonna tap back over towards G2. The grenade's getting prepped. They know the hillside and how they're gonna make the run through, but it might be a little bit too far out. Rexco does go down. Nelson's trying to crawl up and forward. It's Chris is way back in the back. Does manage to find a rock to hide behind, but Ace is just defending this as strong as he can. Goes for the peek out the window and gets another drop.
Vendetta also just crushing the hearts and souls of Armory Gaming up top. That's going to be job done for them. They make the collapse. They wipe them out. G2, they left it a little bit too late. It was an interesting cross, an interesting push to hit from that angle. Yes, you can try and hide up the defilade of the hill, but I didn't see too many smokes to give themselves some level of support. You should pre-smoke that, or maybe even just throw smokes inside of the windows here to deny Entus any field of vision. FaZe Clan, Ghost Gaming, VC Vendetta, all in one quadrant of the map. Pokemon, God knows how he's still alive, but he is. G2 and Shinobi also in a one-on-one engagement. One kill will get themselves a placement point.
See, FaZe still holding this location. Ghost slowly creeping up back behind them. Uba's just trying to make sure nobody's making any approaches from these angles. You can see a lot of times somebody will try to push along those rocks there. Looks like Ghost might be thinking about doing that. Has to be very cautious as they push through. They know the fact that moving up along this line is going to put them in FaZe. They've been going back and forth. At least somebody. They might not know necessarily that it's FaZe at this point, but there's some team that they keep skirmishing with. So Ghost is trying to get a little bit more information. Already at 5 kills at this point. FaZe only sitting at 2, and FaZe has to be very, very cautious. This looks like this is going to be their foothold location.
I'm seeing level 3 gear and a correct gun. So they're kind of geared up. They essentially outman and outgun FaZe here. 2-1. But it's not without response whatsoever. Uber initially, open her up. That's the guy with a level 3, so Shrimzy's taken out of the picture completely. Now he watches behind for any kind of onslaught that comes his way. Uber once again back onto Vendetta. This is a little bit scary. You're poking 2 different bears in 2 different caves here. Don't bite off more than you can chew.
Feels like they're comfortable in the position. Smokes are out, looking back over towards Ghost. Uba's holding that beautiful angle, but McCoy, Drassel slowly creeping up closer and closer. With every little foothold, Ghost might have that better angle for it, but you can see everybody on FaZe is just playing the rocks. They have to be so cautious of the third party from back behind them from Vendetta. That's how come they're trying to hit any shots on anybody that peeks back that direction. Ghost opts into pushing with 3, but right as soon as they start coming around this building, everybody is set and waiting. There's a spray on 1. That's a drop on. Shots are going to come through. McCoy takes a lot of damage. That's another down. Drassel does manage to get 1, but the follow-up is coming along. Uba comes up big.
My word. Mexi, what a repeat. That was disgusting. They should have put him down quicker than that. The repeat is real. Uba stays alive, finishes off the job. Ghost Gaming's down, who gets the revive as well. FaZe Clan holding on for dear life. Remember, it was Ghost Gaming initially that took 1 player from them.
Oh, he does get spotted out by Ace. He was holding back behind that angle. Rez is now coming out and through. We are down to 10 at this point, Sims. 5 teams remaining.
Pokemon, he is still alive. Bless him. They got battered on the arrival, which was, kind of, to be fair, there was nothing else they could really play with. I don't think they've had many kills, if any at all. I've not seen too many down in the kill feed, mainly just Na'Vi getting damaged. Uber earlier on. Remember that Vendetta know exactly where FaZe Clan are, because Uber was getting aggressive on the Mexi. Second knock comes through. That'll be the hard bleed out as well, so they can hold him back. Whether he goes for the res or not's a different thing. Edge is pushing on this one. He wants to get involved. There's the grenade. Should he land this, it'll be beautiful. It'll be 2 free points in the back. Bye-bye, boys.
Great play coming out off of that. Buys a little bit more space. 2 more down. Drops us to 4 teams, 8 alive. 3 of those right now are Vendetta. Making a little bit more control, trying to push forward, get more control over this last circle. But we should note, there is Ace that's back down towards the south. Shinobi is still patiently waiting to see if anybody pushes out from these locations. Might be able to inflict a little bit of damage on that. I feel like the position off of these 2 solos could be very detrimental to either one of these teams that makes an aggressive push.
Really proactive player there from Edge to go and clean out FaZe Clan. Don't give them any time to revive and get themselves back in the picture. By doing that, it removes another obstacle. They can take control of this top side of the map, should they be able to find these few snakes in the grass here and there, and then they have to go up against the final boss, which will be Entus. Pokemon I can see sitting in the blue. He might just deny this, which he does. By doing that, that stops any points going towards these competitors, and I'm fine with that. When you're a one-man band, why bother giving 3 points away to other teams? That's okay.
In 6 games, 1 point could be huge.
Exactly.
That could be a position inside of
We've
this.
literally seen teams lose by 1 point, you know, and not make qualification to major events by 1 single point. One initial player showing his face a little bit too far. Icon does go down. There is an M24 on the side of Vendetta, which put Mexi in the grave.
There's our center spot where everything's going to be ending at. See, it's going to be a push coming out from both sides as our strong teams getting their reses off, trying to get a little bit more control. Shinobi going for a grenade that might give away his position. Vendetta's at least going to know somebody that's next to him. So now Shinobi does have a pretty decent position, pretty close to this, so we can kind of crawl up. Everybody else is going to have to kind of push back down next to him, but you can see this. Off the side of it, Ace is still just trying to get more information. They now know somebody's over there. Vendetta looks like they're just going to opt in to run and gun their way down that hillside.
Shinobi's actually put smokes out, which may distract Entus completely. Maybe even draw them into this one, but he does pick up one, so he's at least got the response there. Entus are now getting involved in this fight.
That is huge. That's a lot of that damage back over towards another member of the Edge. Gonna have to be very careful. Gets dropped off from the blue. Now just one member of Vendetta is alive. So you can see a lot of damage coming out from Shinobi, but he does get shot in the back. Ace is making the creep up to the side of it. Gonna go ahead and polish it off. That's gonna be OGN Entus Ace walking away with 8 kills and the first round of PGC.
Rangjoy, Mickey, and Alpaca. Good job. Nice way to pick up game number 1. 8 kills in the bag and a win in total. So, an 18-point game. That's how you want to be starting day number 1, game number 1, Matrim.
That is huge. This is a team. Ace had to fight their way to get to this point and then walk in, get the first round. That is some huge motivation coming out from these guys. We talked about this is Tempo's house, right? But it is also the OGN Super Arena, and OGN walking away with a first game. Maybe it might just be an OGN house.
Honestly, you said it's Tempo's house, Tempo's temple. They left it in ruin. They went out in 16th place. It's not a great start from then, and I still think they were caught off guard. They did not expect the pull-up and the aggression from BC, and we said if you go passive, if you don't, how you can just walk up onto the top of those, you know, from where they were in the bunkers and not think to check your backside when you got players on the opposing one is beyond me. He was completely open, the final player. But you kill players, they'll come back for punishment.
I don't think that anybody was expecting the aggression coming out that early in this.
No.
Everybody was expecting to be a little bit more calm, relaxed. I was kind of assuming that that might happen as well. But a lot of these teams were like, nope, there's some free points right there, and I want them, and makes the push. And it paid off big for a lot of these teams.
If you don't tank the points, though, somebody else will.
Exactly.
And that's kind of why Tempo initially went for the free kill. Yes, he had fallen off a bike, but that's dead points. That's nobody's. You have to go and confirm that. So I understand rushing round 4. But I don't know if maybe they went for the aggression or maybe they're actually coming back for the rest. This is, you know what, maybe we can try and help him. We'll go for it. But either way, that's enough about them. It comes down to Entus. And a good job, 8 kills in the bag. They had a good position. It's fair to say. They read it well. They took the hold of the garage compound. They held back G2, also had a decent compound in themselves. To take the fight to pick up the points, it's a well-earned win.
Well, with this, there's a lot to break down inside of that game. So, Kalaris, analysts, please let us know everything that you guys saw in that last round.
That's right, thank you very much. The final team to qualify from PKL gets themselves the first win here for PGC. Very, very impressive by them. Some of the circles admittedly did go their way there, but they had the right split, it seemed like, Toffees, to be able to get themselves in the right spot.
I mean, they fought tooth and nail. They came in from the fringe. They earned every moment of the way. I mean, they ended up... I think that this was just a really strong game for them, and they played it really well.
They had really strong split even in the early game. They had towards shelter. They had 2 guys in the shelter, 2 guys on the west side of the road, make sure that they could cross whenever they needed to. And that was one of the key points for them to get into the right positions. We saw later on doing the 2-1 split with 2 in the sniper tower, and that helped them again to get into the main position.
And that in itself, of course, you know, we're saying, you know, bold plays here and there to start off the tournament as a whole. But even that split Avenger is kind of a bold play at the very beginning of a tournament like this.
And you know why? I actually think it's so clear to see that these players are playing it so passive because it's a BO6. Technically, it's a BO6 to get into the top 8.
Sure.
And you can see there was one guy in the middle compound alone from Entus Ace. And nobody breached him. Nobody took a chance. And normally, especially in other leagues, we would see some of the more aggressive kind of smash mouth style teams, they would breach that. They would see, I only see one guy. I don't see a lot of activity. This is the center compound in phase 5. We're going to take that.
Let's take a look at some of the highlights here from our first game of the